Oh, PBS Kids Games. Just hearing that name unlocks a core memory so deep it practically echoes. I mean, if you came home from school, booted up the family computer, and immediately loaded up Cyberchase Mission Motherboard, or Fetch with Ruffman's Germinator, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And this wasn't some niche little website. PBS Kids was pulling nearly 10 million monthly users across its website and app. This was the internet for millions of kids. This user said, "I used to spend so many hours playing games on this website as a child, and now I am really sad to hear it's gone." And that's just it. PBS Kids Games was like a comfort blanket made of pixels. The first place many of you ever used a mouse. The first time you solved a problem on a screen and felt like a genius. But something's changed. Hit subscribe for more deep dives on American TV from a British point of view. Thank you, back to the video. Now, I'll level with you. Because I'm British, I grew up with CBeebies and dodgy flash games on the CBBC website, rather than spending that many hours on PBS. But given the hype around the current PBS Kids Games situation, I decided to go down the rabbit hole. And what I found was horrifying. Because in 2025 and 2026 alone, over 80 games were ripped from the website and app, 30% of staff were sacked, and PBS Kids is now, for the first time ever, considering putting ads in its games. Try visiting pbskids.org today. Yes, you'll still find some games there. A handful of Wildcrats titles, a few Arthur ones. But if you grew up with it, you'll feel the emptiness immediately. Where's Treehouse Designer? Where's Go Cheetah Go? Where's Germinator? Where's Dragon Tales? Where's Echo World? Where are the hundreds of games that used to be there? Because what's left is the skeleton wearing the skin of something that used to be alive. It's had a sledgehammer driven through it 3 separate times. And each swing destroyed another chunk of millions of people's childhoods. I guess we'd better dive in to the 3 devastating blows that basically killed PBS Kids Games. Devastating blow number 1, the Flash Apocalypse. Right, so here's something you need to understand about the old PBS Kids website. Picture a neighborhood, a really good neighborhood, and every house on the streets belongs to a different show. You go to the Arthur house and it felt like you were in Elmwood City. Next door, Cyberchase had built this whole digital universe. Fetch with Ruffman had its own weird little bungalow around the corner. Dragon Tales, Between the Lions, Word Girl, Zobu Mafo. Dozens of shows had their own fully themed microsites with their own games, their own art, their own vibe. It was like the internet equivalent of one of those massive soft play centers. You could wander around for literally hours and never run out of things to discover. And every single one of those rooms built on Adobe Flash. So when Adobe announced in 2017 that Flash was being killed off, PBS had a choice. Build the games in HTML5. Expensive, time-consuming, sure, but possible. You could archive the games somehow. Or, and I want to stress this is an option they actively chose, just delete them and pretend they never existed. Guess which one they went with? Eco World, gone, December 2017. That bizarre environmental game with the monkey, shark, snake, bird thing called Chico? Eco World was my childhood is something people literally say on TikTok now, mourning a game that PBS switched off like it was an office lamp at the end of the day. Cyberflash games, gone in 2018. Wildcrats lost 19 out of 30 games in early 2019. 19 out of 30. To put that in perspective, if your local library did that to its shelves, there'd be a council inquiry. A Change.org petition to bring back the old Wildcrats games gathered nearly 5,000 signatures. The creator wrote, "Removing these games is no better nor worse than removing a piece of our childhoods." Starting in late 2018, PBS began removing all Flash content from its website. A purge that dragged on into 2019. Every Fetch game, Germinator, Roller Coaster, Move It or Luge It, Geyser Surpriser, all gone. Someone on speedrun.com posted, in all caps, "Important, Germinator and all other original Fetch games have been removed from PBS Kids' official site. Flashpoint is now the only option." Because apparently there's a Germinator speedrunning community, and apparently their world just ended. did. Now, to be fair, some games were rebuilt. Cyberchase Quest 1, Mission Motherboard, the absolute goat of PBS games, the isometric point-and-click adventure where you earned Snellfuss currency and traded items and solved math problems in a fully realized digital world, that one actually got rebuilt in HTML5 in May 2025. But Quests 3 and 4 still trapped in Flash purgatory. A handful of Arthur games survived the transition. Lunch-O-Matic, Don't Wait Kate, Arthur Delivers, but the vast majority of the library gone, quietly thrown in the bin when nobody was looking. Every single Dragon Tales game, every Between the Lions game, every Word Girl game, every Zaboomafoo game, decades of children's content, and PBS handled the preservation effort with all the care and diligence of a toddler shoving everything under the bed and pretending everything's fine. Except they didn't shove it under the bed, they set the bed on fire. Smash that like button if you want to bring some of those original games back to PBS Kids, so the younger generation can experience those great games too. Devastating blow number 2. Kart Kingdom dies. Okay, so if the Flash apocalypse was the first swing of the sledgehammer, Kart Kingdom dying was the one that caught people in the ribs, while they were still doubled over from the first hit. So, for those who don't know, Kart Kingdom was PBS Kids' first and only massively multiplayer online world. Launched in 2015, it was, and I know this sounds like something I've made up, but I promise it's real, basically Club Penguin meets Mario Kart meets PBS. You created a character, drove karts through 4 explorable worlds, Grand Glade, Mount Snow, The Deep, Bug Garden, completed quests, collected currency called bits, crafted gadgets, raced other players, and even built your own games using a built-in game maker. It was genuinely ambitious. It was like finding a secret room in your nan's house that actually turned out to be a fully functioning nightclub. That's how off the rails this thing was. And 0 microtransactions, none. In an era where every other kids game was essentially a slot machine wearing a cartoon mask, PBS gave children a full MMO for free. No ads, no loot boxes, so it's no surprise that over 14 million kids played it. And then on October 1st, 2020 at midnight, they switched it off. PBS blamed server costs, but they never gave a detailed public explanation. One fan who emailed PBS about it reported, "They gave me a link to PBS Kids for Parents about the closure of Kart Kingdom, and it gave nothing." So this is how PBS doesn't really care about this game at all. Which is a bit like your landlord evicting you and then sending you a leaflet about healthy coping strategies. On the Kart Kingdom wiki, which has over 2,600 pages and remains active 6 years after the game died, like a village that refuses to accept the mine closed, kids shared their grief openly. One 11-year-old named Danny wrote on a petition, "I was crying so hard and even staying up for days longing for Kart Kingdom to come back. I was even failing classes for lack of sleep and focus due to the shutdown." The game's blog was run by a fictional character called Kay, this orange-skinned, blue-haired guide who posted weekly updates and genuinely felt like a friend to millions of children. Kay's final blog post, "It's All You," received over 1,400 comments. The farewell post before it, "Love You Too," got over 3,000 comments. Kay wrote, "Thank you so much for sharing your feelings with us. It's okay to be sad that Kart Kingdom is going away. I totally understand, and I'm sad too." Which, to a 7-year-old reading that on the screen, might as well be a letter from Father Christmas explaining that Christmas has been cancelled due to budget constraints. Basically, no consolation whatsoever. The last 2 players in the Pine server were users called Akarin and OK Cookies, logging in at approximately 12:35 AM on October 1st, 2020. 2 kids alone in the digital world. Half an hour past the scheduled apocalypse, the servers apparently running on fumes. Like the band playing on as the Titanic goes down. Except the band is 2 children in a kart game and nobody's coming to rescue them. A 13-year-old on the petition to bring it back wrote, "I've been having lots of thoughts of just wanting to revisit the nostalgic things I've had. I've been depressed from my current problems I'm currently having, and this game has always come into thought. I've always played this game before any of the popular games I now play, like Roblox, Blockman Go. This game was my Roblox. And honestly, that's the bit that truly gets me in the feels. For millions of kids who couldn't afford a gaming PC, who didn't have the latest console, whose parents would only let them play educational stuff, PBS Kids was where they gamed. That was their platform. That was their community. And the world just sort of collectively decided it didn't count because it had the letters PBS in the name. It's like showing up to a party and then being told your invitation doesn't count because it's printed on the wrong paper. Just insane and absurd. PBS did eventually bring a stripped down version called Kart Kingdom Racing, a bare bones racing game with no quests, no world building, no community, and no soul. Imagine someone demolishes your childhood home and replaces it with a car park. And then they look at you and go, "What? There's still tarmac there, mate. What's your problem?" Devastating blow number 3. The money disappeared. So, Flash killed the old games. Kart Kingdom got switched off. Surely that's enough. Surely whatever's left can just quietly exist in peace. Well, no. On May 22nd, 2025, the US Department of Education terminated the Ready to Learn grant, a $112 million funding stream that had been keeping PBS Kids alive since the 1990s. The combined hit cost PBS Kids nearly $30 million. Over 80 gaming titles removed from the website, and approximately 30% of staff cut. And offline game titles, the feature that let kids without reliable internet still play, put on the chopping block. PBS Kids' entire identity was being the great equalizer. Free games for every kid, regardless of whether your family had money. And the cruel irony is that the kids who need it most, the ones without good internet, the ones in rural areas, they're now the first ones losing access. The safety net is being pulled away from the people standing closest to the edge. One parent wrote, "Please tell me the Wild Kratts games are staying. There may be a tiny mutiny in my house otherwise. I hope you kept Don Quixote's Froyo game. My son played that game for years." Martha Speaks games removed in October 2025. Arthur's website gutted the same month. A survey found that 17% of Americans believed PBS Kids were shutting down entirely. Yes, nearly 1 in 5 people thought that the entire thing was just over. And in a sense, they're right. Sarah DeWitt hinted that PBS Kids might not have to explore commercial partnerships to generate revenue. Yes, ads on PBS Kids. The one place where parents could hand their kids a tablet and know that they wouldn't be bombarded with ads for mobile games and sugary cereals. The one corner of the internet that hadn't been colonized by people trying to sell things to 5-year-olds. And now, even that might be gone. It's like watching a nature reserve slowly get rezoned for a shopping center. You can see it happening. You know how it ends. And yet, there's nothing, and I mean nothing, you can do about it. Saving PBS Kids Games? Now, here's where the story gets a tiny bit hopeful, but in the saddest possible way. Like finding a flower growing out of a crack in a demolished building. I mean, it's lovely, but the building's still gonna get demolished. Because PBS won't preserve these games, fans are doing it themselves. The Internet Archive hosts PBS Kids Game Collections. A fan site called nostalgiakidsites.com has literally recreated the 2008 PBS Kids website with working links. Someone discovered that a hidden PBS subdomain still hosted old Flash games. A Discord community called Project Virtual World exists specifically to recover lost children's games, including PBS Kids titles. As this user wrote, "My favourite was always the Geisha Surpriser Rough Ruffman game. I still play it from time to time. I love Flashpoint so much." So, volunteers in their spare time, working for free, are doing the preservation work that a publicly funded national broadcaster decided wasn't worth the effort. And the thing that makes it properly heartbreaking, a lot of these fan preservationists, they're not adults being nostalgic. They're teenagers. Kids who were playing these games 5 or 6 years ago and are already mourning them. We used to get decades before nostalgia kicked in. Now kids are grieving their childhoods before they've even finished them. Final reflection. You know what PBS Kids Games taught millions of kids without even meaning to? That the things you love can disappear without warning that your digital childhood isn't stored in some safe vault somewhere. It's held together by server costs and government grants and corporate decisions made by people who wouldn't know what a Snellfuss was if it bit them. And here's what makes the PBS Kids story different from Cool Math Games getting worse or Miniclip fading away. Because those sites are still there. You can still visit them. They're a bit sad and empty, like a pub that lost its regulars, but they still exist. PBS Kids Games? Huge chunks of it have been actively destroyed. Like someone took a sledgehammer to a playground and then acted surprised when kids showed up crying. Yes, we've had over 80 games removed in the past year alone. Hundreds more lost to Flash. An entire MMO switched off at midnight. And the games that remain? Fewer every month, with no guarantee at all that they'll even survive the next round of cuts. A user on the Lost Media Wiki wrote, "Coming to this page really did unlock a memory from my childhood. I would play it all the time when I was a kid, and it's really sad that it's lost now." Another person added, "When I was younger, I played this game all the time. I love this game, and it holds a dear memory in my heart." I'm interested to know, what was your favourite PBS Kids game? As always, let me know in that comment section below. Interested to see which one gets the most upvotes. And look, PBS Kids Games as it was may never come back. The Flash games are gone. Kart Kingdom is gone. The funding, well and truly, gone. But the memories? Those stubborn, beautifully stupid, specific memories of solving maths puzzles in Cyberchase, of racing karts through Grand Glade, of building roller coasters with Ruff Ruffman, those live on in millions of you, scattered across TikTok comments and change.org petitions and fandom wikis that refuse to die. It taught an entire generation that childhood is temporary, and that sometimes the most important things in your life are the ones you don't appreciate until someone takes a sledgehammer to them. And on that depressing note, I'll see you for the next one. Snipe, snap, out.